Hey guys and gals, let's take a look at the Temple of the Golden Idol by Lego Indiana Jones. This is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I haven't seen that in a while. Set number 77015. This set contains 1,545 bricks, and it's rated for 18 years of age and up. So that's pretty cool, and look, it says batteries are included. There must be a light brick in here, and there is 4 minifigures included in this set. So right here we have, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Hovitos Warrior, Belloq, Indiana Jones, and Satipo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And yes, I do need those wigs. So we already know what's going to happen to those. And here's a look at the back of the box. And so far, this doesn't look too bad. Now, I don't know what the retail price of this set is, but it was provided to me by the LEGO Group for early review. The dimensions of this set is 51 centimeters or 20 inches wide by 23 centimeters or 9 inches tall. So that doesn't seem too bad. Now, I'm hoping all this stuff here is printed, but we already know the fate of that. But for the most part, this does look pretty interesting. Looks like we get to actually play with this and stuff like that. But what does this set look like in person? I want to see what this looks like, especially for the piece count. Well, let's take a look. Before we visit the temple, let's have a look at the minifigures. So off to the left, we have Hovitos Warrior, Belloq, Indiana Jones, and Satipo. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing all the names correctly. And it looks like these two here are probably from the same tribe, I don't know, but nonetheless, they're nice minifigures and nice print work for both front and back. Pretty cool, and some of them do have single-sided heads and some have double-sided heads, but I don't want to scalp them to do that. Here we are at the Temple of the Golden Idol, and it doesn't really look much like a temple, but I think what it is meant to be the interior of a temple. Right here, we have the entry point into the temple, and don't worry, we'll take a closer look at everything. So pretty much you walk through here, and you get greeted probably by this guy. But you got to be careful because there's booby traps. You obviously got a skeleton down in there. And yeah, you turn this knob and, well, you better make sure you have the minifigure facing the other way, but it's supposed to go rolling down like that. And when you put the rock back up, make sure you spin it really fast for it to lock, and it can come right back down. So that's one possible booby trap there. And here we got ourselves a door, and this door's closed, but you can crank this knob here and open up the door. So not too bad. And this gentleman right here can just swing about. You just hit this knob here and you can just bounce. So it's kind of like a vine, like a swinging vine. So you can pretend that Indiana Jones throws his lasso up there and he can just swing from one end to the other. So that's pretty cool. And over here, we got the Golden Idol. And this thing here is kind of funny in itself because it looks like it's sitting on a nice little perch, but you got to be careful because, well, we got another one of these knobs here. So what's going to happen is the light turns on, the idol kind of starts slowly dropping down, and then that thing comes crashing down. It doesn't come crashing down all the way, which is good. And it's held in by chains and stuff. And it just easily pops back in place. Now, when I was building this area here was really challenging, so that was pretty much a hard spot for me in building the set. Now let's take a look at the back here, and you'll be able to see the workings behind it. And yeah, if you're not a fan of Technic, I don't know, you may want to brush up on your Technic skills, but as you can see here, here's the mechanism for the boulder on the right hand side, and then that's how it locks in, and this raises and lowers the door. Here's the vine, and over here is that whatchamacallit, the idle head and everything, so I can rotate this, and yeah, you got to put this back up here before you can flip the switch. I think I'm doing it wrong, but there we go. So this actually pushes down the light brick and then makes that thing pop out. So put the switch back and then set that back in there. And that's pretty much what it is. It's not too terribly bad. But for the most part, it's a nice model. It's a nice model indeed. Well, instead of this lousy camera angle, let's take a closer look. Here we have the entry point into the temple, and we got our gatekeeper right there. he's all ready for action. So there's a lot of greenery in here, there's not a lot of leaf pieces or foliage, but it does look heavily vegetated, like it's a bit overgrown. So here's this area with the boulder. Not too bad. This tile's printed as well as these tiles here. And there was a lot of stickers in this set, but nothing too terribly bad. Stickers weren't too bad to put on. There was just a lot of them. So basically, that's what it looks like. So that skeleton probably had met his fate. And then you really got to swing this boulder up there. It's kind of hard to do it with, especially since there we go, I'm a righty. I can't really get that up there with my left hand. And you can see some skulls throughout the whole build. And yeah, and I'm trying my best to keep everything stable here. So there's the entry door. That's a sticker on that door. So that just pops open. And I got that gentleman there. Just wiggle that and make it look like he's swinging. And there's a lot of details just for the backdrop of this too. Like this golden, I'm not sure what these are called. That's probably one of the very few gold pieces in here. And I do like this mosaic tile on the top. It gives you that old school vintage temple feel. And then here's the last section here. And all those tiles in the back are sadly stickers. I wish those were printed though, because those would make great pieces for mocks. But here we have the idol here. There's a little skull head, and there's the thing where the light brick is at. And this right here was a pain to build. I messed up on that a few times. So I'm not sure if these are supposed to be mosaic tiles or just pieces fallen from the temple. And here's a close-up of this knob here. So the idol does kind of fall down, the light turns off. I don't know, maybe it's not put together right, I don't know, but the light does come on, it drops down, and then that thing comes off. Lots of chains. It's easy to just put back in there. Kind of wish the light would stay on a bit more, but that's probably a good thing. And if you notice, though, we have some skulls down here, too. And yeah, there's a lot of detail packed into this. Lots of detail. So you're not going to be disappointed with the set in terms of detail. Well, let's take a look at the back here, and this may scare some people off. And, you know, this is the entry point here. Here's a lot of Technic. Well, for me anyway, since I'm not a Technic buff. And yeah, it's all mechanical. And this right here is just, it still boggles my mind on how that works too. I'm not a mechanical buff. I know how to write computer code and make circuits, electronics and stuff, but mechanical stuff I'm still kind of lost. So I can come over here and turn this knob on. See how it's pulling that down? And then it knocks that head loose. You have to pop that back in there. And not too bad. And here's this side. So this is how you get out, I guess, huh? So this is almost like a side-scroller game in a way, if anybody knows what side-scrollers are anymore. But all in all, you know, the build is really good. This is probably one of the very few sets that I enjoyed putting it together at a point, but we'll say that for the review. But If you're looking for something with a lot of detail, well, here you go. I mean, this looks like it goes on forever. Just on this side, it's really well thought out. Now for the review and my opinions on this set, let's dive right on into play value. And as you've seen in the demonstration, this is a fully playable set. Now, just the way it looks, I'm assuming that this is not really meant to be played with hardcore, but with all the features, I mean, who can resist, right? So I would have to say it's a nice, functionable, playable model. For build experience, at the start it was real fun. The first 9 bags were pretty good, and by the 10th bag I was getting exhausted of this set. I was starting to get rather bored, and honestly I think it was the Technic. There was a lot of Technic in this set. Well, for me anyways. I'm not really much of a Technic buff, but as we saw here in the back, that's a lot of mechanics there. So I'm not really into the Technic stuff, but in order to add some awesome functionality, that's the only way to make the set what it is. Which leads to the build quality. I didn't really have anything fall apart on it. Nothing really came apart or was brittle or anything like that. And you could pick this up, and as you can see, it's pretty much sound. So it's not like it's flimsy or anything like that, but I do recommend to keep this on a flat surface. And since you're only going to be playing in this area, you can actually display this on a shelf. So this is mostly like a shelf queen. So you could just sit here and make things move and stuff like that. You don't even have to have access to the back. The build quality in this, I'd say, is well above average for something like this. Everything is pretty much fixed. There's nothing loose or floating around. So in my opinion, the build quality is pretty good. As for drop-in value for a Lego City, could you drop this in? Not really. You know, it's like mock. Could you make a mock out of this and make it better? I'm sure you could probably enclose this in or add more sections to this. You probably could. There is potential for mock value. For the retail price of $149.99 for 1,545 bricks, you really can't tell there's 1,545 bricks in this set. Or I can't see it anyways, but there's a lot in there. We did have a decent sized amount of large pieces, but lots of small pieces. There was just tons of small things to put together. And for me personally, it's not really worth the $149.99. I think to me it's worth $120. Let's run it up to $150, and it just seems a bit steep for this. Yes, it is a really nice, heavily detailed build. I'm satisfied with it, but the price just seems a bit steep. But we do have to take into account the functionality. You get 4 minifigures. So the pieces are roughly about 10 cents a piece. So I'd say it's pretty much priced average, but for what it is, and it's supposed to be about 18 inches wide, and it is pretty wide. I don't know, I just still don't see the price in this. I mean, nonetheless though, it's really nice, but I don't know. Tell me what you guys and gals think. Do you think this set is worth $149.99? Do you think this is something you would like to have displayed on your shelf? Or just tell me what you like or dislike about this set. Just let me know in the comments below, because even I'm curious.